Remember when kitchens weren't just about looking good in photos, but about working smart? When your grandmother's kitchen had features that solved problems we're still dealing with today, except we've forgotten the solutions. From built-in cooling systems that kept food fresh without electricity to workspace features that made cooking easier on your back and your budget, these weren't just conveniences. They were innovations born from necessity and refined over generations. Today we're looking at 25 forgotten kitchen features that deserve a second chance in modern homes. And that last one, it might just solve the biggest problem with today's open-concept kitchens. Pot filler faucet. Picture this. You just bought a 12-quart stock pot for making pasta for Sunday dinner. You fill at the sink, and now you're carrying 25 pounds of water across the kitchen. Try not to slosh it everywhere, praying you don't slip on that floor you just mopped. There's a reason your back hurts. The pot filler faucet, mounted on the wall directly above the stove, eliminated this problem entirely. These started appearing in upscale homes in the 1920s and became fairly standard in better kitchens through the 1970s. The design was simple but clever. A cold water line ran through the wall to a faucet with an articulated arm, usually with 2 joints, that could swing out to reach any burner on the stove and then fold back flat against the wall when not in use. The better models had shut-off valves at both the wall connection and at the spout itself. This double valve system prevented leaks, which was important because this faucet lived right above your heat source. Many were made of brass or chrome to match other kitchen fixtures, and the really nice ones had ceramic handles that stayed cool even with the stove running. Restaurant kitchens have always had these because professional cooks recognize the efficiency immediately. You save time, you save energy, and you eliminate a safety hazard. Carrying heavy pots of water is how people get hurt, especially older folks or anyone with back problems. The pot filler disappeared from standard homes in the 1980s, probably because the installation required extra plumbing work that builders wanted to skip. But they're experiencing a comeback now in custom kitchens. If you cook frequently, especially if you make soups, stews, or pasta, it's worth the investment. Installation typically costs $400 to $800 depending on your wall situation, but compare that to one emergency room visit from a scalding accident. Drainboard sinks. If you've ever dealt with one of those dish racks that slides around on your counter and leaves a puddle underneath, you need to know about drainboard sinks. These were standard in American kitchens from the 1920s through the early 1960s, and they solved a problem we've somehow decided to live with. Picture a single piece, usually cast iron covered in thick porcelain enamel, that included the sink basin and extended out to one side as a built-in draining surface. The drainboard section had subtle grooves molded right into the porcelain, angled back toward the sink so water ran off naturally. You'd wash your dishes, set them on the drainboard, and by the time you finished washing, the first plates were already dry. These sinks were built like battleships. The cast iron core made them heavy, yes, but that weight meant stability. The porcelain coating was applied so thick that many of these sinks are still in use today, 70 or 80 years later, with barely a chip. Compare that to the stainless steel sinks we buy now that show every scratch after a few years and dent if you drop a heavy pot. The best models, like the ones made by Kohler or American Standard in their heyday, came in colors, not just white, but soft yellow, pale green, or that distinctive pink that showed up in so many 1950s bathrooms and kitchens. The drainboard side often had a small ledge for soap, and some included a second smaller basin for vegetable washing. You can still buy reproduction drainboard sinks, though they're expensive because they're mostly made by hand now. Or if you're planning a kitchen remodel, some high-end countertop fabricators will cut drainage grooves directly into stone countertops next to the sink, recreating the same functionality with modern materials. Warming drawer. Thanksgiving dinner is your nightmare, right? The turkey has to rest, but the mashed potatoes are getting cold. The green beans are done, but the rolls aren't ready. Everything's happening at different times, and you're frantically trying to keep food hot without overcooking it. Your grandmother had a solution. The warming drawer, usually installed below the oven or as a separate unit, maintained a precise low temperature designed specifically to keep food hot without continuing to cook it. These became popular in upscale homes starting in the 1960s and were standard in homes built for serious entertainers through the 1980s. The key was temperature control. A good warming drawer operated between 140 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit. At these temperatures, food stays well above the danger zone for bacterial growth but doesn't continue cooking. Some models included humidity controls, which prevented food from drying out or, conversely, from getting soggy. Beyond the obvious use during dinner parties, warming drawers served other functions. Bread bakers used them to prove dough in a consistently warm environment. The low, even heat was perfect for this. You could warm dinner plates before a formal meal, which kept food at the right temperature longer once it was served. Some people use them to melt chocolate gently or to hold chocolate at working temperature for candy making. The warming drawer was built to be used all day during the holidays. While you were roasting a turkey or ham, side dishes could sit in the warming drawer for an hour or more without suffering. This meant you could cook sequentially instead of trying to time 6 different dishes to finish simultaneously, which is basically impossible. Modern kitchens often sacrifice the warming drawer to make room for more storage or a larger oven. But if you entertain frequently or have a large family where everyone eats at different times, a warming drawer changes your life. They're making a comeback in higher-end appliance packages, though you can also buy standalone units. Does anyone remember using their grandmother's warming drawer? What did she keep warm in there? Let us know in the comments. Hoosier cabinet. Before built-in cabinetry, before the fitted kitchen, there was the Hoosier cabinet. If you've seen one, you know it. If you haven't, imagine a 6-foot-tall, 4-foot-wide piece of furniture that contained an entire kitchen's worth of storage and work surface in one unit. The Hoosier Manufacturing Company of Indiana made these from about 1900 to 1940, though several other companies produced similar cabinets. They were sold through catalogs and at furniture stores, marketed to housewives as labor-saving devices, and they lived up to the promise. A typical Hoosier cabinet had a work surface at waist height, usually topped with a zinc or porcelain panel that pulled out for extra workspace. Above this was a flour bin with a built-in sifter. You'd pour flour into the top compartment, turn a crank, and sifted flour would dispense below, ready for baking. Next to the flour bin was often a sugar bin and spice rack. The upper cabinet had glass doors to display dishes or store frequently used items. Below the work surface were drawers lined with tin for bread storage, cutlery drawers with dividers, and often a compartment for larger pots. Many cabinets had a metal-lined drawer specifically for keeping coffee or tea fresh. The cabinet doors sometimes featured printed shopping lists or recipe cards, and some models included a small cookbook holder on the inside of the door. The genius of the Hoosier cabinet was efficiency. Everything you needed for baking was within arm's reach. You could measure, mix, and knead without moving from that one spot. In homes that didn't have built-in cabinetry, which was most homes before the 1940s, this was revolutionary. Original Hoosier cabinets in good condition sell for $1,000 to $3,000 now at antique stores. People restore them and use them as coffee stations or baking centers, which honors their original purpose. The built-in flour sifter still works. The drawer still glides smoothly after 100 years. And the zinc work surface is still perfectly functional. That's quality construction. Larder cupboard. A larder is essentially a large, freestanding cabinet dedicated to food storage, and it's something between a pantry and a piece of furniture. In British and European kitchens, larders were standard. In American homes, particularly farmhouses, they served as the main storage for dry goods before built-in pantries became common. What makes a larder different from regular cabinetry is its presence. This is a statement piece, often 6 to 7 feet tall, with solid doors that you can paint in a bold color to contrast with the rest of your kitchen. While modern cabinetry tries to blend in and disappear, a larder stands proud as a functional focal point. Inside, a well-designed larder has adjustable shelving at different depths, narrow shelves for spices and small jars, deeper shelves for larger items. Some include drawers at the bottom for root vegetables or bread storage. The best ones have doors with interior racks for frequently used items, maximizing every inch of space. The practical advantage is consolidation. Instead of food scattered across multiple cabinets throughout the kitchen, everything lives in one place. You know where to find ingredients, You know what you're running low on, and you don't buy duplicates because you can see your full inventory. Aesthetically, a larder adds character to a kitchen that might otherwise feel too modern or sterile. Paint it navy blue while keeping the rest of the kitchen white. Add brass hardware, and suddenly your kitchen has personality and depth. Interior designers are bringing larders back for exactly this reason. They solve storage problems while adding architectural interest. If you don't have room for a walk-in pantry, which we'll discuss later, a larder cupboard is an excellent alternative. You can buy vintage ones, have one custom built, or even repurpose an old wardrobe into a kitchen larder with some modifications. Plate racks. Walk into a kitchen from the 1930s, and you'll likely see something that looks almost sculptural built right into the cabinetry. Vertical wooden slats, usually positioned above or beside the sink, where plates stand upright like soldiers in formation. These plate racks weren't afterthoughts. They were engineered into the kitchen design from start. The genius was in the placement. Most were installed directly above the sink, which meant you could wash a plate, give it a quick rinse, and slide it right into the rack to drip dry. No counter space wasted on rubber mats or those collapsible drying racks that never quite fold flat. The grooves in the wood were spaced precisely to hold different plate sizes, and many included a small drainage channel at the bottom that fed water back into the sink. But here's what made them special beyond function. In an era when most families owned one good set of dishes, maybe two if they were fortunate, these racks turned everyday china into display pieces. Your plates weren't hidden behind cabinet doors. They were part of the kitchen's character. If your grandmother had those blue willow pattern plates, or the ones with the pink roses, everyone who walked in could see them. The practice died out in the 1960s when Americans started buying more casual dinnerware, and the idea of everything matching and hidden became the standard. But craftspeople are bringing them back now, and not just for farmhouse kitchens. You can order custom plate racks in any style, or buy freestanding versions if you're renting. The principle remains sound. Let your dishes air dry naturally, save counter space, and add some personality to a room that's become too sterile. Specialty drawers. Open a kitchen cabinet from 1940, and you might find something surprising. Not just a drawer, but a drawer with a specific job, engineered for a particular type of food. Our grandparents understood something we've forgotten. Different foods need different storage conditions. The bread drawer was usually lined with tin and featured small ventilation holes, sometimes covered with fine mesh screening. The tin lining kept insects and mice out, which was a real concern before homes were as tightly sealed as they are today. But those vents were the clever part. Bread needs some air circulation or it molds, but too much air and it goes stale. These drawers found the middle ground. A loaf of homemade bread could last nearly a week in one of these drawers, staying soft inside with a crust that didn't get chewy. Then you had the produce drawers, which were deeper and often featured a false bottom made of perforated metal or wooden slats. Air could circulate underneath and around the vegetables. Potatoes need darkness to prevent them from turning green and developing solanine. So the best produce drawers had a tin liner or solid wooden sides that blocked light. Onions need ventilation and separation from potatoes, which release moisture and gases that can spoil onions faster. Some drawer systems had separate compartments addressing exactly this issue. The sophistication of these simple drawers shows how much thought went into kitchen design when people were more connected to where food came from and how to preserve it. Today's kitchens might have a crisper drawer in the refrigerator, but that's different. These specialty drawers worked at room temperature, saving electricity and keeping foods that don't need refrigeration at their best. Modern custom kitchen companies are starting to offer these again, particularly the vented produce drawers. If you're remodeling, ask about them. Your potatoes and onions will last longer and you'll reduce food waste. Bread box. That bread box sitting on your grandmother's counter wasn't just decoration. It was a carefully designed food preservation system disguised as a simple container. Bread boxes from the 1930s to the 1960s came in wood, metal, or enamel-coated steel, often with a roll-top lid that slid up and back. But the design details mattered. Most had small ventilation holes, usually on the back or sides, that you might not notice at first glance. These vents allowed just enough air circulation to prevent moisture buildup, which causes mold, while keeping the interior dark and relatively dry. The science is straightforward. Bread stales through a process called retrogradation, where starch molecules crystallize. This happens faster in the refrigerator, which is why refrigerated bread gets hard so quickly. At room temperature, in the dark, with slight air circulation, bread maintains its texture much longer. The bread box provided these exact conditions. A good bread box kept a loaf of homemade bread fresh for 5 to 7 days. The crust might soften slightly, but the interior stayed moist and the bread didn't mold in humid weather. Compare that to bread in a plastic bag, which either molds within a few days or dries out if you leave the bag open. Metal bread boxes, especially the enamel-coated ones with designs painted on them, have become collectibles now, but they still work. If you bake your own bread or buy bakery loaves without preservatives, a bread box is essential. The modern ones often have bamboo lids that double as cutting boards, adding functionality. The bread box disappeared when sliced white bread in plastic bags took over American kitchens in the 1970s and 1980s. That bread was so loaded with preservatives, it could sit on the counter for 2 weeks. But now that people are baking sourdough again and buying artisan loaves, we need the bread box back. Colorful appliances. For decades now, stainless steel has dominated kitchens. Every refrigerator, dishwasher, and range is brushed silver. It's safe, it's neutral, and it's boring. Our grandparents knew better. In the 1950s, appliances came in colors. Soft pastels mostly. Pink, mint green, turquoise, butter yellow. The refrigerators had rounded edges and prominent chrome handles that turned them into design elements rather than just functional boxes. Stoves came in matching colors. Even dishwashers, when they became common in the 1960s, were available in colors that coordinated with the rest of the kitchen. The benefit was personality. Your kitchen looked like your kitchen, not like every showroom floor Home Depot. If you wanted a pink stove and a turquoise refrigerator, nobody thought you were crazy. It was called decorating. Color makes appliances feel like furniture rather than equipment, which changes how you relate to the space. A blue retro-style refrigerator becomes a piece you show off, not hide behind cabinet panels. This also makes remodeling more flexible because the appliances are meant to be seen, not integrated into cabinetry. There's a practical advantage, too. Colorful appliances are often less expensive than the integrated panel-ready models that high-end kitchens use to hide everything. A quality freestanding colored refrigerator costs less than a built-in unit that requires custom panels. And when it needs replacing in 15 years, you can swap it out without reconstructing your cabinetry. The trend toward color is returning, slowly. Several manufacturers now offer appliances in multiple colors, from classic black and white to blues, greens, and even red. Interior designers are embracing this, using colored appliances to add warmth to kitchens that have become too cold and minimal. If you could choose one vintage kitchen feature to bring back into your home tomorrow, which would it be? Let us know in the comments. We want to see which one gets the most votes. Built-in breakfast nook. In the 1930s and 1940s, kitchen designers realized something. A dining table with 4 chairs needs significantly more space than the same seating in a booth configuration. Chairs need room to push back. Benches don't. The built-in breakfast nook, often called a banquette, tucked into a corner of the kitchen with bench seating on 2 or 3 sides, and a table size to fit exactly into the space. The benches were typically 18 inches deep, enough for comfortable sitting, and built into the wall structure itself, sometimes with decorative trim that matched the kitchen's woodwork. The best breakfast nooks were positioned near a window to capture morning light. Some were in alcoves created specifically for this purpose during construction. Others took advantage of an odd corner or space that would have been difficult to use otherwise. The bench seating was often upholstered or included cushions for comfort during long family meals. Modern versions have improved on the original concept by adding storage underneath the bench seats. Lift a cushion and you'll find space for children's toys, table linens, seasonal items, or anything else that needs to be hidden away. Some newer designs incorporate LED lighting underneath the benches or USB outlets in the wall for charging phones, turning the breakfast nook into a multi-purpose family space. The social benefit of a breakfast nook can't be overstated. Unlike dining at separate chairs where people can easily get up and leave, Bench seating encourages lingering. Kids do homework there after school. Adults drink coffee there on Sunday mornings. It becomes a gathering spot in a way that regular dining tables don't quite achieve. Breakfast nooks disappear when open concept designs took over and people wanted more flowing space. But they're returning now as families realize that massive open kitchens feel empty and lack intimate spaces. A breakfast nook creates a room within a room, defining space without walls. If you're remodeling, consider whether you have a corner that could become a breakfast nook. It takes up less space than a traditional dining set and provides more seating for large gatherings when you add chairs to the open side of the table. Still enjoying this trip through kitchen history? Leave a comment letting us know which features you remember from your childhood. Butcher block countertops. There's something honest about butcher block countertops. They're wood, usually hard maple, sometimes oak or walnut, arranged as strips or blocks and finished with food-safe mineral oil. They warm up a kitchen in a way that granite and quartz never can. The functional advantage is that you're working on a built-in cutting board. You can chop vegetables directly on the surface without worrying about dulling your knives the way granite does. Professional kitchens and butcher shops have used maple cutting blocks for over a century because the wood grain is tight enough to resist bacteria while being gentle on knife edges. Butcher block requires maintenance. You need to oil it regularly, every few weeks initially, and then every few months once it's well seasoned. If you spill water, you wipe it up. If you scratch it, you sand it smooth. But this maintenance is part of developing a relationship with your kitchen. Over time, the wood develops a patina, darkens slightly, shows the marks of use. Each surface tells its own story. From a budget standpoint, butcher block is often less expensive than stone countertops. A basic maple butcher block might cost $40 to $60 per square foot installed, compared to $75 to $150 for granite or quartz. Higher-end woods like walnut cost more, but still compete favorably with natural stone. The downside is that butcher block isn't as heat-resistant as stone, and you can't set a hot pot directly on it. You also need to be careful about water near the sink area, either using a wood sealer or accepting that the wood will age more quickly there. But many people find these trade-offs acceptable for the warmth and functionality that butcher block provides. Butcher block works particularly well for kitchen islands, where you want a work surface, or in baking zones where you're rolling dough frequently. Some people use it for full kitchens and love it. Others mix materials, using butcher block in some areas and stone or solid surface in others. Broom closet. Go look at your kitchen right now. Where do you keep your broom? Is it leaning in a corner somewhere? Stuffed in the pantry where it falls over every time you open the door? Stuck in the garage, which means you never sweep, because who wants to walk the garage for a broom? Kitchens from the 1940s and 1950s included a purpose-built broom closet, not a multi-purpose closet that sometimes held brooms, but a tall, narrow cabinet designed specifically for brooms, mops, dustpans, and cleaning supplies. These were usually 18 to 24 inches wide, shallow enough to fit in spaces where a regular cabinet wouldn't work, and 6 to 7 feet tall. The interior typically had hooks or clips along the back wall for hanging brooms and mops by their handles, keeping the business ends off the floor where they'd stay cleaner and dry faster. Shelves above held cleaning supplies, rags, and the dustpan. The best designs had a slot at the bottom that allowed you to stand brooms upright, which was easier than hanging them if you used them frequently. The benefit was immediate access and organization. When you saw crumbs under the kitchen table, the broom was right there in the kitchen, hanging clean and ready. You didn't have to think about it. Didn't have to move other things to get to it. Didn't have to make a separate trip somewhere else in the house. Modern kitchen renovations often overlook this, and homeowners end up buying expensive pull-out organizers or narrow pantry cabinets to recreate what used to be standard. If you're designing a kitchen, find space for a proper broom closet. Even a 15-inch wide space between the refrigerator and the wall can work. Future you, trying to sweep up after dinner, will be grateful. Vintage stoves. There's a cult following for vintage gas ranges, particularly the Chambers Model C and various O'Keefe and Merritt models from the 1940s and 1950s. And it's not just nostalgia. These stoves have features that modern appliances still haven't matched. The Chambers stove is legendary for its insulation. The oven walls were thick with a special insulation material that retained heat for hours after the gas was turned off. You could cook with residual heat, which saved fuel and produced incredibly moist, evenly cooked food. The thermostat was so precise that bread bakers swear nothing modern comes close. Additionally, chambers included a compartment called a thermal well, essentially a built-in slow cooker 70 years before crock pots became popular. You could start a stew in the morning, turn it off, and come home to a hot meal. O'Keefe and Merritt stoves, meanwhile, were known for thoughtful details. Many models had side-by-side double ovens or an oven and a griddle next to each other, giving you more cooking options than a standard range. Some featured built-in salt and pepper grinders mounted right on the cooktop surface, which sounds odd until you use one and realize how convenient it is. The ovens held temperature steadily, and when turned off, the residual heat at about 115 degrees made them perfect for proofing bread dough or drying herbs. These stoves were built from heavy-gauge steel with porcelain enamel finishes that have lasted 70 to 80 years. Many original stoves are still in daily use. The burners are solid and serviceable. The oven gaskets can be replaced, and parts are available through specialty suppliers. Compare this to modern ranges that start having problems after 10 to 15 years and are often not worth repairing. Restored vintage stoves sell for $2,000 to $8,000, depending on condition and model. Some people hunt for them at estate sales or through online marketplaces and restore them. There's a learning curve to the features, but once you understand how to use the residual heat and the various compartments, cooking on one becomes second nature. If you want the look without the vintage appliance, several companies now make retro-style ranges with modern components. They capture the aesthetic but don't have the same thermal properties or build quality as the originals. Stove, alcove. If your stove sits flush with your countertops like every other appliance, it's easy to overlook. But in older homes, particularly those built in the first half of the 20th century, the stove sat in a recessed alcove, and there were good reasons for this. The alcove, usually recessed 12 to 18 inches into the wall, created a dedicated cooking zone. The walls of the alcove were lined with materials that could handle heat and were easy to clean, tile, brick, or enamel metal panels. This protected the surrounding walls from grease splatter and heat damage, which was a real concern with early gas stoves and especially with wood-burning ranges. Some alcoves included small shelves on either side of the stove, perfect for keeping salt, pepper, cooking oil, or frequently used spices within arm's reach. The best designs incorporated a pot filler faucet at the back of the alcove, which we discussed earlier, and many included a rod across the top for hanging utensils. But beyond the practical benefits, the alcove made the stove the focal point of the kitchen. It signaled, this is where the cooking happens. This is the heart of the room. In an era when the kitchen was primarily a workspace rather than a showroom, this emphasis on function made sense. Today's custom kitchens are bringing alcoves back, though now they're often more about design than necessity. A tiled alcove behind a professional-style range becomes a place to use decorative tiles that would be too busy elsewhere in the kitchen. Under-cabinet lighting or LED strips illuminate the cooking surface. Some designers install a pot rack above the alcove or a shelf for displaying copper cookware. If you're doing a major kitchen renovation and have the depth to create an alcove, it's worth considering. The added cost is minimal since you're essentially just moving the stove back and finishing the walls differently, but the visual and functional impact is significant. Milk door. The milk door, also called a delivery door, was one of the cleverest features in homes from the 1920s through the 1950s. This was a small insulated compartment built into an exterior wall, accessible from both outside and inside the house, designed for milk delivery in the days before refrigerators were universal. The system was simple but secure. The delivery person opened the exterior door and placed glass bottles of milk, cream, butter, or eggs into the insulated box. Once they closed the outer door, the homeowner could open the inner door from the kitchen side and retrieve the items. The doors were designed so only one could open at a time, providing security. The insulation kept the contents cool in summer and prevented freezing in winter, at least for a few hours until the homeowner retrieved them. This was essentially an Amazon locker, invented 100 years before Amazon existed. It solved the same problems. Secure delivery when you're not home, protection from theft and weather, convenience for both the delivery person and the customer. Milk doors fell out of use in the 1960s when home milk delivery declined and when suburban development emphasized curbside mailboxes over built-in features. But the concept is experiencing a revival now. Companies are making modern versions called package delivery boxes or fresh food lockers, equipped with smart locks, temperature control, and one-time access codes for delivery drivers. For those who order groceries online or receive regular deliveries, a modern milk door solves the porch pirate problem while keeping perishables cool. Some new homes are even including a Costco door, a pass-through from the garage directly into the pantry, making it easy to bring in heavy bulk purchases without carrying them through the house. The milk door is proof that good design solutions are timeless. The technology may change, but the need for secure, convenient delivery remains. Pull-out breadboard. Here's a feature so simple you'll wonder why it disappeared. A wooden cutting board that slides out from under the countertop when you need extra workspace and tucks away when you don't. The pull-out breadboard was typically about 18 to 24 inches wide and 12 to 15 inches deep, mounted on wooden slides beneath the countertop edge. The primary use was exactly what the name suggests, a clean surface for kneading bread dough or rolling pie crust. Because it was slightly lower than the main counter surface, it was actually at a better height for these tasks. But it had other uses. In small kitchens where counter space was limited, it served as an extra cutting board or a place to set hot dishes temporarily. Some people use it as a workspace for small appliances like a mixer, pulling it out when needed and pushing it back to keep the counters clear. The breadboard disappeared when laminate and tile countertops became standard in the 1970s. These materials couldn't easily accommodate the routing and installation required for the pull-out mechanism. And as kitchens got larger with more counter space, the feature seemed less necessary. But now, as urban living means smaller kitchens, and as people are baking bread again, the pull-out breadboard is worth reconsidering. It's an option in custom cabinetry, though not standard. If you're designing a kitchen and have limited space, ask your cabinet maker about including one. The cost is minimal, basically just a wood board and slides, but the functionality is significant. Kitchen desk. In older homes, you'd often find a small built-in desk in the kitchen, usually in a corner or alcove. It had a work surface at desk height, maybe a drawer or two, and a small bulletin board or cork panel above it. This was the family command center before we had smartphones and tablets. The kitchen desk was where mothers balanced checkbooks, planned menus, wrote shopping lists, and copied recipes from magazines into handwritten cookbooks. It was where kids did homework while dinner cooked. The telephone hung on the wall nearby, and important numbers were written on a card and pinned up. This concept is making a comeback, though in modified forms. After the pandemic forced many people to work from home, kitchen designers started incorporating workstation areas again. These aren't necessarily full desks anymore. Sometimes it's a deeper counter section with a stool and an outlet strip for charging devices. Sometimes it's a small writing surface that folds down from a cabinet. The modern version recognizes that kitchens have become multi-purpose spaces where people need to do more than cook. Kids need to look up recipes on tablets while baking. Adults need to answer emails while monitoring dinner. The kitchen desk provides a designated spot for these activities instead of having laptops and papers scattered across the counter. Some designers are creating more elaborate versions, a closable cabinet that contains a small desk, so you can work with the door open and then close everything away when guests arrive. Others are building in USB outlets, cord management, and better lighting to make the space truly functional for modern devices. If you're remodeling and have a small and used corner, consider adding a kitchen desk or workstation. Even a 24-inch wide section with a stool can make a difference in how functional your kitchen feels for actual daily life, not just cooking. Walk-in pantry. The walk-in pantry is less of a forgotten feature and more of a never-should-have-been-eliminated feature. In older homes, particularly larger houses and farmhouses, a dedicated pantry room was standard. It disappeared during the mid-century modern movement when kitchens shrank and wall cabinets were supposed to handle all storage needs. A proper walk-in pantry is a small room, not a closet. 6 by 8 feet is a good minimum size, though larger is better. The walls are lined with shelving, typically adjustable wooden shelves that can accommodate items of different heights. The best pantries include a work counter, a window for natural light and ventilation, and enough space to move around comfortably. The organizational advantage over standard cabinets is enormous. In a walk-in pantry, items sit on shallow shelves where everything remains visible. You can see what you have, what you need, and what's approaching its expiration date. Compare this to deep cabinets where items disappear into back, forgotten until you discover them years later. In older homes, pantries were often positioned between the kitchen and the back door or between the kitchen and dining room. This placement made sense. You could unload groceries directly into the pantry, or you could access serving pieces without going to the kitchen. Some larger homes had a butler's pantry for serving ware and a separate storage pantry for food, which we'll discuss shortly. The walk-in pantry is making a strong return in new construction and renovations. People want storage for bulk purchases from warehouse clubs, space for small appliances that don't need to be on the counter daily, and a place to hide the clutter that accumulates in every kitchen. The pantry solves all these problems. If you don't have a dedicated pantry, you can sometimes create one by converting a nearby closet, repurposing part of an attached garage, or even sacrificing a small bedroom in homes where you have more bedrooms than you need. The investment in improved kitchen organization typically justifies the lost space elsewhere. Modern pantries often include features the old ones didn't. Electrical outlets for charging devices or running small appliances, LED lighting on each shelf, pull-out drawers for heavy items, and door-mounted racks for frequently used items. Some people install a second refrigerator or freezer in a large pantry, turning it into a complete food storage center. The butler's pantry originated in upper-class homes from the late 1800s through the 1950s as a transition space between the kitchen and dining room. It was where servants prepared food for service, staged multiple courses, and cleaned fine china and crystal away from the main kitchen's chaos. A traditional butler's pantry included a counter for plating food, a sink for washing delicate items, glass front cabinets for storing serving pieces and glassware, and often a wine storage area. The room had swinging doors or pocket doors on both ends, one leading to the kitchen, another to the dining room. This allowed servers to move between spaces without guests seeing into the working kitchen. The butler's pantry disappeared when formal dining declined and when open floor plans became popular in the 1960s. Why have a separate room when you could combine everything into one large space? Well, we've learned why. Because open concept kitchens mean your guests see every dirty pot, every cooking mess, every cluttered counter. The modern butler's pantry is experiencing a major revival, but its function has evolved. Today it serves as a staging and cleanup zone that lets you enjoy your open concept kitchen without the stress of constant visibility. When hosting a party, you can prep appetizers and drinks in the butler's pantry. During dinner, dirty dishes accumulate there, out of sight. After guests leave, you can pile everything in the butler's pantry and close the door. Deal with cleanup the next day while your main kitchen looks pristine. Contemporary butler's pantries often include features the originals didn't. A second dishwasher, a wine refrigerator, a coffee station with its own water line, or a baking zone with mixers and supplies kept permanently in place. Some include a small prep sink separate from the main cleanup sink. The idea is to move messy activities, the coffee maker that collects grounds, the stand mixer that throws flour everywhere, the wine bottles that drip, into a separate space. The butler's pantry doesn't need to be large. Even a 5 by 8 foot room can function effectively if planned well. The key requirement are counter space, storage, and ideally a sink. Some people convert a former mudroom, hallway closet, or breakfast nook into a butler's pantry during renovations. If you're building a new home or doing a major renovation and you entertain regularly, a butler's pantry is worth prioritizing over extra square footage in the main kitchen. It provides a backstage area that makes the performance of hosting much less stressful. Brass and warm tone metals. After decades of chrome and stainless steel dominating every surface, warm tone metals are staging a comeback. And it's not just a trend. It's a correction of a design philosophy that made kitchens feel cold and clinical. Brass was the standard for kitchen and bathroom fixtures from the Victorian era through the 1950s. Door hardware, cabinet pulls, faucets, light fixtures, all brass or bronze. These metals develop a natural patina over time, darkening and gaining character. This aging process was considered desirable, not something to prevent. Then the 1980s and 1990s brought an obsession with shiny chrome and brushed nickel. Everything had to match. Everything had to be cool-toned. Everything had to look new forever. Kitchens started feeling like surgical suites. Functional, yes. Inviting, no. The return to warm metals is part of a larger shift toward kitchens that feel like living spaces rather than laboratories. Brass, copper, aged bronze, and even gold-toned finishes are appearing on faucets, cabinet hardware, lighting fixtures, and range hoods. These warm tones complement natural wood, add depth to neutral color schemes, and create contrast with white or gray cabinetry. The practical advantage is that warm metals hide fingerprints and water spots better than stainless steel. They're also more forgiving of minor scratches because the patina disguises wear. And if you decide to update your kitchen in 10 years, replacing hardware and fixtures with different metals is an easy, relatively inexpensive refresh. You don't need to commit to a full kitchen renovation to embrace this trend. Start small. Replace cabinet pulls and knobs. Swap out a chrome faucet for an unlacquered brass or oil-rubbed bronze model. Add a brass pot rack or pendant lights. These small changes can transform a cold gray kitchen into a warmer, more personal space. The key is understanding that not everything needs to match perfectly. Mixing metals brass cabinet pulls with a copper sink, for example, adds visual interest and feels collected rather than bought all at once from a showroom. Farmhouse sink. The Farmhouse sink, also called an apron front sink, has made such a strong comeback that you might not realize it was nearly extinct for several decades. These deep, wide sinks date back to the 1800s when they were a fixture in working kitchens. The defining characteristic is the exposed front panel that extends past the edge of the counter. Original Farmhouse sinks were made from fire clay or porcelain enamel cast iron, materials chosen for durability in an era when kitchen sinks took serious abuse. These weren't delicate fixtures. They were workhorses designed to last generations. The depth is what makes them special. A standard modern sink might be 7 to 8 inches deep. Farmhouse sinks are typically 9 to 10 inches deep, and vintage ones sometimes went even deeper. This extra depth means you can wash large roasting pans, stock pots, and baking sheets without water and suds splashing everywhere. If you've ever tried to wash a cookie sheet in a standard divided sink, you understand the limitation immediately. But there's an ergonomic benefit that's less obvious. Because the front of the sink is exposed rather than sitting behind a counter edge, you can stand closer to the basin. Your body doesn't have to bend as far forward. And there's no counter edge digging into your waist when you're doing dishes for 20 minutes after dinner. For anyone with back problems, this makes a real difference. Original Farmhouse sinks have a weight and presence that reproduction struggle to match. A vintage cast iron sink might weigh 200 to 300 pounds, which required substantial cabinet support, but meant the sink wasn't going anywhere. The porcelain coating on quality vintage sinks is often thicker than modern versions, which is why so many are still in use after 80 or 100 years. The Farmhouse sink disappeared in the 1960s and 1970s when stainless steel double bowl sinks became standard. They were cheaper to manufacture and lighter to install. But starting in the 1990s, Farmhouse sinks began returning as people renovated older homes and wanted to preserve historical character. Now they're popular even in new construction, though the quality varies widely. If you're considering a Farmhouse sink, pay attention to materials. A proper fireclay sink will last decades. Some of the cheaper versions are made from modified acrylic that chips easily and doesn't have the same heft or longevity. Corian countertops. Corian and other solid surface countertops were huge in the 1980s and 1990s, then fell out of favor as granite and quartz took over. But they're experiencing a quiet comeback, and for good reason. Solid surface materials are manufactured from acrylic polymers mixed with minerals. The result is a non-porous, seamless surface available in dozens of colors and patterns. When Corian first appeared in the 1960s, it was revolutionary because it offered something natural stone couldn't: Integrated sinks with no seams or gaps where water and bacteria could collect. The seamless aspect remains one of solid surface's biggest advantages. The sink bowl is made from the same material as the counter and fused together during fabrication. There's no caulk line to maintain, no lip where crumbs collect. You can wipe water and debris directly into the sink without barriers. Solid surface is also repairable, which granite and quartz are not. Scratches can be sanded out. Burns can be buffed away. Minor damage that would require replacing a section of stone countertop can often be fixed on solid surface with some sandpaper and elbow grease. This repairability extends the lifespan significantly. Early Corian came in limited colors, many of which looked obviously artificial. But modern versions include subtle patterns and colors that mimic natural stone while maintaining the practical benefits. The material is also being used in new ways, as integrated backsplashes, as seamless wall cladding in bathrooms, even as furniture components. From a budget perspective, solid surface falls between laminate and natural stone. It costs more than laminate, but less than quality granite or quartz. For families with young children, or anyone who prioritizes easy maintenance over prestige materials, solid surface makes sense. The stigma against Corian is fading as designers rediscover its practical benefits. It won't necessarily increase your home's resale value the way marble might, but will provide decades of reliable, low-maintenance service. Sometimes that's more important than status. Pull out trash bins. Look around most kitchens today, and you'll see trash cans sitting on the floor, taking up space and collecting grime around their bases. Your grandmother's kitchen likely had a smarter solution. Trash bins built into the cabinetry on heavy-duty pull-out slides. These systems became popular in the 1970s and were standard in better kitchens through the early 1990s. A cabinet, usually under the sink or near the main food prep area, contained 1 or 2 trash bins mounted on slides. Open the cabinet door, pull out the frame, and the bins came forward for easy access. When finished, you push them back and close the door, hiding the trash completely. The hardware mattered. Quality systems used ball-bearing slides rated for 50 to 75 pounds that allowed smooth operation even when the bins were full. Cheaper versions used plastic slides that broke quickly, which gave pull-out trash bins a bad reputation they didn't deserve. The benefits were significant. First, you reclaim floor space. In a small kitchen, eliminating a trash can from the floor makes the room feel larger and flow better. Second, trash stayed hidden, which made the kitchen look cleaner and more organized. Third, the bins were positioned exactly where you needed them, right in the work triangle where most food waste was generated. Better systems had 2 bins, allowing for trash and recycling separation before this became mandatory. Some included tight-fitting lids that contained odors. The best designs had removable bins that you could lift out entirely for cleaning or for carrying to the outside trash container. Pull-out trash bins declined when builders started cheating on the hardware quality and when granite countertops became popular, making the undersink area more valuable for water filtration systems and other utilities. But they're coming back now in custom kitchens as people rediscover their convenience. If you have the cabinet space, a pull-out trash system is worth installing. Modern versions have improved significantly, with soft-close slides and better lid designs. The cost is typically $200 to $400 for a quality system installed, which pays for itself in improved kitchen organization. Would you rather have a pull-out trash system or a kitchen desk for managing household tasks? Tell us your preference. Pull-out pantry drawers. Fixed shelves in a pantry have one major problem. The items in back become invisible, which means they get forgotten, which means they expire, which means you're wasting money. Kitchen designers in the 1980s solved this with full extension pull-out drawers. These weren't the flimsy wire racks you might be thinking of. Quality pull-out pantry systems use heavy-duty ball-bearing slides rated for 75 to 100 pounds that allow deep drawers to extend fully. When you pulled the drawer out, everything came forward. You could see every can, every box, every jar at once. The smartest designs use multiple drawers at different heights. Shallow drawers at the top, maybe 4 to 6 inches deep, perfect for spices, tea boxes, or packets of seasoning. Medium drawers in the middle for canned goods and jars. Deeper drawers at the bottom, 10 to 12 inches deep, for bulk items like large cereal boxes or bags of flour. This vertical organization mimicked how retail stores displayed products. Everything visible, everything accessible. The difference in food waste was significant. When you could see that you had 3 cans of tomatoes but no beans, you didn't buy more tomatoes. When that jar of capers wasn't hiding behind the peanut butter, you actually used it before it went bad. Pull-out pantry drawers required good hardware to handle the weight, which made them more expensive than simple shelves. By the 1990s, builders started cheating, using cheaper slides that broke under load or didn't extend fully. This gave the whole concept a bad reputation. But good pull-out pantry systems still exist, usually in custom kitchens or as aftermarket additions. If you have a standard pantry with fixed shelves, you can often retrofit it with pull-out organizers. The investment pays for itself in reduced food waste within a year or 2. So there you have it, 25 features from our grandparents' kitchens that deserve a second look. Some are coming back already. Others are waiting for people like you to rediscover them and demand them from builders and designers. The common thread through all these features is thoughtfulness. Kitchens used to be designed by people who understood cooking and understood the work that happened in these spaces. They solved real problems with clever design rather than just following trends. Today's kitchens are often beautiful, but not always functional. We prioritize how they photograph over how they work. We choose materials that look good in showrooms but don't age well. We create spaces that feel impressive but aren't actually pleasant to work in day after day. Maybe it's time we borrowed some wisdom from the past. Not because old is automatically better, but because some problems were solved a long time ago and we forgot the solutions. Which of these features resonated most with you? Which ones do you remember from your childhood or your grandparents' homes? And which would you most want to see in your own kitchen? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one, and your feedback helps us understand what content you want to see next. If you enjoyed this journey through kitchen history, please hit that like button. Share this video with anyone who loves kitchen design or home history, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes. We got more nostalgic home features coming your way, from forgotten bathroom fixtures to architectural details that made old houses special. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.